because I have returned.
All right, let's do it. So I haven't seen Cross yet today. I'm sure many viewers have in the earlier rounds. Cross I'm so glad it's in this tournament. It's such a cool map. It's another one of those maps where you have to think about both water, land, map progression. And here we are. Well, we'll be in a moment. Yes, here we are, ladies and gentlemen. Game 1 between Hearttt and Mattheus in the Escape Champions League. This is a best of 3. Mattheus is in the red, playing as the Italians, and Hearttt is in the green, playing as the Huns. With me is Rez22. I'm so happy to be casting with him again. And as I was just saying to Rez, the map is Cross. And if you look in the corners of the map, there are 4 separate ponds where you can fish amongst all the land aggression that is possible here. So this will be a mouthful, Rez.
Oh, yeah. I really like this map, and kudos to T-West for actually taking Cross and then adding some of the new grass terrain to it to make it more fit with the Europe East style for the Escape Gaming Champions League. That's hashtag branding. So, great to be in this game. Great casting with you, as always, T90. It's a pleasure. And I think that this is going to be an absolutely fantastic matchup. You mentioned earlier, before we began, that Mattheus is one of the more underrated players in this tournament, definitely. Hearttt, we're quite familiar with at this point, but Huns versus Italians, those are some strong civs. And I do wonder if we'll see some elite Genoese crossmen in the late game, because I feel like the Huns do struggle with that, but the game has to get there, because the Huns are fast early, and there are a lot of options in a map like this.
Yeah, Genoese crossbow, that's not something Hearttt wants to face here, because Huns are known for their knights and their cav archers. Genoese crossbow would counter all of them. Notably, I think the big difference between the civs is that one civ has mobility, and one civ has that very strong snowball composition. So I think if you're Hearttt here, you want to use that mobility in Feudal Age and Castle Age. But before we talk too much about the civs, let's look at the maps. I'll start with Mattheus, actually. And that gold's not great for Mattheus on the front. There's a large hill there. Oh, hills are always difficult to lock down. And then, of course, you need your gold. So
his secondary stone's on the other side.
Yeah. I mean, he has his stone there. He does have a gold near the pond in the south, which he could maybe go to. But obviously, if this game goes on for a longer period of time, he'll need that main gold. But wood lines are fine. He has multiple wood line options, 3. And then I think Hearttt will also have some trouble locking down his golds, as he has 2 golds forward. So it's relatively even. Hearttt even having a gold to the north of his TC in the back. So at first I thought, wow, Mattheus has an awful map because of that golden stone, but Hearttt also has golds forward. So I think for that reason, there won't be any complaints at the end of this when it comes to maps.
I was about to say, this is some res-rigged RNG right now, as both players have less than stellar maps, is the nicest way I can say it. Less than stellar. They both have a secondary gold at the back that they can at least rely on, and I would say that Hearttt has really not a super safe stone in general. I mean, maybe he can get the one on the far right side of his base, but it's good to see both players docking early on, because there's a lot of fish here. The shore fish are not efficient sources of food compared to, in this case, the fish dorado and the salmon and whatnot. So it's important that you actually rally your fishing ships to those.
Ooh, and the south of Taste is going to lose a villager.
He's got no loom because it's so early in the game. What an excellent play by Hearttt. What a read. Goes for the pond, picks off the villager. Now the house does come down. We usually see a house built after the dock. That way you get to mitigate some of your idle time. Maybe you'll gather 10 food from the shorefish. But what a read from Hearttt.
Yeah,
gets to pick up a vill. That's significant.
Yeah, and he was thinking of it early on as well. He walled in his villager when he was building his dock because he knew of that possibility. What's kind of funny there is, I haven't seen this before. Mattheus just accepted that villager was going to die, and he was forcing down the house. So he's like, okay, you're going to die, but at least finish the house before you do, which I found kind of comical.
I found that hilarious, too. I was like, is he going to finish the house or not? And he opted for the house. And see, here's the thing. That was premeditated by Hearttt. He was thinking about this the whole time. You have to get there before loom comes down. And Mattheus is like, I think I'm just going to get loom right now. I feel like I need loom at the moment. And Hearttt on his way to the feudal age first, critically, because loom has to get researched. And this boar, not finished, but now he's advancing. We're going to see about a 30-second difference between the two, and we'll see how this plays out. Like you said, this is a matchup where the Italians have such a strong, slow push, like in the Imperial Age, but the Huns have fantastic mobility that they can use to get map control and just kind of flood the map. And I feel like on a map like this, where both players have pretty crappy generation, the Huns can really take advantage of that. So all eyes on Mattheus here to take advantage of that mobility.
Mattheus sending his scout forward, excuse me, runs into Heartt's TC. Heartt didn't have a lot of villagers there, though, so Mattheus keeps his scout alive, perhaps looking to see what Heartt will be going for strategy-wise, but he does not see the barracks going up on the front. This map is all about a fine balance of water control and land aggression, and Heartt is sending a villager down to the southern pond, and he wants to dock that at a fire galley and kill Mattheus's fish. Currently, Heartt has 5 fishing ships, so if he was able to kill Mattheus, this would be a huge eco advantage for him. And the play for Mattheus is your typical man-at-arms, and it will probably be man-at-arms into archers. He is not going to snipe fish, and he won't even be able to if Heartt finishes this wall to the edge of the map. That's a smart wall off. So I think the dock will go up for Heartt. Heartt is going scouts. It'll take some time to mass those scouts. He'll be vulnerable for a couple minutes, Heartt, once Man-at-Arms comes in, because there's a huge power spike with that. But I think things are looking pretty good for him, considering he has that dock up.
If you're looking for a fast rush, look no further than these slow Men-at-Arms, ironically, because you just need the barracks. It's a cheap upgrade, and now he's going to come down, and ooh, the scout gets picked off, and Heartt gets to keep his scout away. And this is very important, especially because he's going for a scout rush. But it also just means that he is another unit dealing DPS, and he gets more map vision. This mill is not quite optimally placed. I think it should have been placed like a tile backwards, but good focus fire down by Mattheus, picking off the low HP scout instead of attacking the high HP one. And these berries, nope, no berries for you. He's going to have to back off with those villagers. And meanwhile, Heartt has that almost secret dock, but Mattheus, not born yesterday. No, he's scouting with the fishing ship, and he sees it. But the fire galleys, I mean, one of the reasons why they're so strong is they just delete fishing ships.
Yeah, it's too late, basically, right? It's too late. He had the thought, but the thought was a minute too late, and he will lose his ship. So
God, look how fast
the fire galley, but assuming Heartt will see the rest of the fish, he'll kill them, or at least, if not all, most. Now, on the front, this is very good for Mattheus. He's actually mixing in spears, so this is buying him so much time. He's also currently denying those golds that we spoke of. So it's not like Heartt can just mix in archers because he doesn't have access to gold. And this is the main problem with scouts. You need to mass them, whereas the man-at-arms, you can make the militia in Dark Age and then just click the upgrade in Feudal.
And that's one of the many reasons why archers and crossbows are so good. Oh, you're saying?
I mean, on water, currently, things are looking good for Heartt, but on land, they are not looking good. 2 ranges for Mattheus, so Mattheus will be mixing in archers and more spears, and while he's losing his fish, I really like his advantages on land. Heartt, if he holds, if he defends here, takes 50-50 trades, then he'll have a huge eco lead with 8 fishing ships, but that might not happen.
Oh, here's something interesting in 1890. So if we look at the water, Mattheus did not queue up a second fire galley. He had that option too, but he did not. So instead of actually all-inning the single fire galley from Mattheus, Heartt wasn't queuing up another one, so you just want to kill as many fishing ships as possible. This means that Mattheus will still have access to his pond, and meanwhile, we do still see this duel on the land, but like you said, I favor Mattheus here. I like his army comp, and I feel like zoning Heartt off of gold is forcing him into skirmishers, which is, you know, both a blessing and a curse. At the same time, the skirms are going to be excellent versus the archers, but Mattheus is going to mix in his own skirms, which is the correct choice in this matter. And the skirms also do no damage to the men-at-arms at all. So it's going to be tricky. It's going to come down to control.
Yep, and at the moment, Heartt, as you said, massing skirms. You know what? I think if he keeps an eye on these units, then he'll be okay. He just needs a little bit of gold to get fletching. That's what he's lacking at the moment. Mm-hmm. And that's all Heartt really needs on land, Rez. He needs to be okay. He doesn't need to win because he's way ahead on water right now with the economy there. So here come the units. Fletching coming in for both players, and Heartt taking a great engagement. 2 pickoffs, and it'll probably be 3 pickoffs as well. And not 3 in the end, but Hearttt back on top of the score, back on top of the population, and economically, he has 9 more economy units, 7 more fishing ships, and 2 more villagers.
Wow. Speaking of water, T90, we had a second dock coming down from Hearttt in the top left corner as well.
Yep.
So he really wants to push that eco lead. And the fact that his fishing ships were untouched gives him. He's got 7 fishing ships advantage. So again, like I said, this fight's all going to come out of control. And the micro is not here for Mattheus. He's going to lose all of his melee units, which he needs to keep out of range of the skirmishers and on the scouts. But some good stutter stepping here. Stutter stepping Marines almost, not quite. And at the end of the day, forcing Hearttt into massing skirms. He also has padded archer armor, interestingly enough, because he didn't really have that much gold miners. We'll get it. Is proven to be decisive. Will the hill advantage matter, though?
18 kills and 8 deaths for Hearttt. Like, it's just insane. His KD is insane. All he needs to do is hold, as I said. The padded archer armor is huge because that means that Mattheus's archers can't even trade with a hill bonus, really. So Hearttt pulls back so he can get a few more numbers. And he's adding a market now, so I think he'll want to look towards the castle age. He's happy with his trades. He's happy with his eco. He'll continue to keep Mattheus's army at bay. And then when he reaches castle, he could use the Hun's mobility with the cav archers and the knights. Mattheus doesn't have the numbers. He doesn't have that snowball that he really needs. Saying that, though, he's building his own market on the left-hand side, and he has quite a few resources, so he might click up soon to castle as well.
Heartt's been playing this game super duper well. I think that it was a really good decision to not make that fire galley when he did, because, surprise, he ended up making 2 more later inside the dock during that fight that we were just watching. That way, Mattheus would be distracted. Now, Mattheus did have one really good engagement on that hill, which did kind of even things out on the land, but still, the fishing discrepancy is absolutely massive, and I would say Mattheus is on a bit of a timer. Now, both players advancing to the castle age at a relatively similar time, but that archer armor was decisive, his army comp, he doesn't have that many units, and wow, it looks like Heartt's actually going to pull back his villagers as well so that he doesn't cut a hole in his wall like the Conqueror's AI, and build another lumber camp out of range, so Heartt's looking great.
Yeah, he lost 1 villager, and now he's going for the classic Hun. 2 stable, 2 ranges, so he'll go knights and cav archers. He'll start off with elite skirm, and then he'll mix in knights. And knights and elite skirm counters everything Italians can put out at the moment. Yep. It's amazing. It has the mobility to kill crossbows, also has the firepower with the skirms. And as Hearttt loops around to pick off these archers and skirmishers and does so, this is an amazing game from Hearttt.
What a read.
He also sends a villager into the other corner, so he's looking to dock there. The funny thing is Mattheus hasn't even docked that, so Mattheus hasn't been fishing there. Hearttt is playing this as he should, but Mattheus has no fish there to steal.
And for those of you who know my commentary, I could talk about this specific engagement for 40 minutes, as it has been. That alone right there from Hearttt, I could break down as a whole game. He focus fired down the exact perfect unit every given opportunity, starting with the archers that were within range, and then when they weren't, starting with the skirmishers that were within range, because he doesn't want to miss his projectiles. As a result, he mopped that fight up, and his KD is looking excellent with 31 to 12. He's now in the castle age. Both players are, and it's so strange, T90, so strange to see the Italians with cheaper fishing ships have none.
Yeah, Hearttt took the initiative, and Elite Skirm and Bodkin are now on the way. He's mixing in the knights. He has way more eco. 16 fishing ships versus 0. That is crazy. And I think Mattheus knows it now. He sees the score difference. He now sees the skirmishers. And does he go for vills here? He has to go for vills here. Mattheus picks off a few villagers, but he's also losing all of his army. So though he'll get some vill picks here, Hearttt will push back that much stronger. This is kind of a last-ditch effort for Mattheus. He's picked off vills, which is nice. He's a few ahead now. But just wait till this army pushes forward. There's nothing that Mattheus has that can defend from this. So he has to stay behind his walls, add TCs, siege workshops, and just boom, basically. Boom and hold. Because the pain train's coming.
The pain train is indeed coming. Now, AoE 2 might not be as flashy as some other esports, but man, does it have some crazy plays. And the way Hearttt maneuvered his army and his villagers was once again flawless. In that he managed to he lost a villager, but he managed to keep 2 other villagers tanking hits, kiting that army around and dealing the maximum amount of damage with each elite skirmisher as well as the knights, because they're more accurate at close range. He just mopped up that entire army. I really feel like Mattheus probably shouldn't have gone through that gate in the first place. Everything is easier. Hindsight's 20/20, but he was in too deep. I think that the army comp response from Hearttt is so strong. That's a pretty mangonel blast, though. And a pretty response.
Well, it is tough, as you said, Rez. If Mattheus didn't fight there, then he wouldn't have been able to do any damage anyway, because Heartt's playing so solid. So I guess it's kind of a better than nothing engagement. 17 fishing ships for Hearttt. It's worth pointing out that he's in every freaking corner with ducks right now. And's coming forward with skirmishers and knights, and it will be soon mangonels. A huge population lead for Hearttt. If you're Mattheus, I think you build up towards a castle here at some point.
Yes.
And maybe go mangonels, Genoese crossbow, but that will take some time. Hearttt has full map control, and he's taking advantage of it.
I like the mangonel defense, I do. I think he has a pretty powerful wall off with his houses and his palisades. He doesn't actually have that many holes for Hearttt to exploit. But like you said, Hearttt is in every corner of the map fishing, and not having to build houses is paying dividends in the wood department at this point. And he's now going to threaten to take the far left corner of the map as well. He's going to have he's 17 fishing ships. That's a huge boost to your economy, especially with technologies like gill nets coming into play later. This is going to be a great investment. And I think that his just super hard counter army is fantastic. Elite Genoese crossmen aren't even going to be amazing just because of the elite skirms, but that's still, I agree, should be his goal. He needs a defensive castle to stall the game, hopefully get himself closer to the Imperial Age, and then that's when he'll be in control. But we see the Hun's mobility giving him complete map control. He's taking advantage of that, holding all lakes. You said it earlier. It's a balance between land and water, and the water is 100% favor Hearttt.
Yeah, well, in the beginning, I said Huns need to utilize their mobility and thus get map control off of it. And Italians, they have the snowball, and that's exactly what Hearttt has done. He's used his mobility, he has the map control, and it's so hard for Italians here, because if Italians push on the right, then Huns come in on the left, and then he has to go back. Speaking of left-hand side, Mattheus will build a castle there and to gain a stone and to protect his gold. Now, Hearttt has done a good job, despite not being able to get through the walls, to at least delay his opponent's economy, and he's going to the hill with mangonels, but he clicks up to imp before Mattheus does, Rez.
Ooh. The gill nets thing, for the record, is a reference to my stream. I'm fully aware that it's actually gill nets. It's actually a joke, guys. Do people really think I don't know what gill nets are? I've been to an aquarium, hello? Anyway, hill advantage here allows Hearttt to actually survive that mangonel blast, which is once again why hills are so very important, so very important. And this town center will go down. He's mining stone as fast as he can because he knows he needs to get that castle. But here's the real sad story. He's only got 350 stone. And it's not like he's got gold or really anything in the bank to actually use a market to really get there. Ugh, double mangonel blast, but once again, the high ground. It's decisive. And I just don't know if Mattheus can get to the Imperial Age to leverage his better tech tree versus the Huns, because I think the Hearttt is really playing to his Civ strengths.
Well, he's clicked up to imp now, Mattheus, but you know, even if he goes 2 castle Genoese crossbow, he at least needs 4 or 5 mangonels then to accompany that. And yes, Hearttt, he can continue with the same composition, right? And he can still go elite skirm and cavalier. And I think what Hearttt will go for is a castle on the front and then a trepor. And essentially say, come at me to Mattheus. Mattheus has no mobility. Mattheus doesn't have the gold. Hearttt has his golds that are forward and the stones that are forward. And Hearttt has not been troubled at all this game. And there's the castle that I expected on the front. And the Trebor will begin once the castle's up and once the Imperial Age comes in.
Wait, but T90, my handsome caster, you're forgetting one thing. He's got 4 Genoese crossbowmen, which is more than 3.
It is more than 3.
He's working his way up to number 5. Can he get it? Well, he didn't get the relic.
Just look at how Hearttt has played this, Rez. Look at the outposts he has. He is playing this super safe. He knows his opponent. He knows exactly where his opponent is. He knows what his opponent is going for. There will be no surprises here. And he's patrolling skirmisher on the additional gold on that side with the outposts. I mean, he really has played this well. I mean, the micro has been good, but the decisions have been better. It's not just about micro, it's about the decisions. And
completely agreed.
Now he's getting chain barding and ballistics. It's funny, he skipped out on upgrades because he knew he didn't need them. And it's Onager from Mattheus. So Onager and Genoese crossbow.
He's got the control. He's got the strategy. And, well, thankfully he does have enough Genoese crossmen and 2 castles to kill those knights. If he lost that Mangonel, that would have been terrible. So, we'll see if Mattheus can push this back. I would have said that this would have been an incredibly one-sided, GG well played, if Mattheus did not get to the Imperial Age. Why? Because, like you said, it's going to transition into a Treb War. And if they weren't so close to each other, and thankfully, the Italians cost 15% less to advance the ages, well, he might not have been able to make it, but he did. So this means he might be able to survive the Treb War, but now he has to wait 30 years for chemistry to research. And this time, Hearttt actually takes the relic that Mattheus wanted. And the Treb War begins. Advantage to Hearttt. Hearttt needs to wait for his units to mess up. He needs chem to research because he wants a bombard cannon. He wants it so bad that he actually ended up researching Onager first. Cool.
Yeah, I think Onager... Mattheus essentially needs to hold for a very long time, right? You know, Hearttt, if he's seen, and he has seen, that Mattheus has built this many castles, he knows his economy is way better. I think this is where Hearttt pushes right into the economy of Mattheus. He's done. Hit the eco, which is already struggling, and use that mobility. And this forces Mattheus to come back to address this, and he really can't. And if he comes here, then Hearttt could go to the north. So it's all unraveling now for Mattheus.
It is unraveling entirely. And look at that Onager isolated with like this weird quick wall on that gold mine. That's kind of cute. Don't think that's going to matter though. And here comes the Genoese crossman, but we were talking earlier about mobility, and when you're playing Age of Empires 2 at a high level, you gotta know your matchups. This Onager is isolated, is gonna go down, completely unprotected as we're waiting for the Genoese crossman to come, but there's no Squires upgrade for these guys. They're just slow. And I love the Cavalier power spike. It's super cheap. I feel like Heartt's been utilizing just really cheap upgrades and power spikes, where the Italians, they just need time to get going. He's got chem now, but can he really leverage it?
Yeah, now Hearttt, I think, should use this opportunity to push the other side a little bit, because now the Genoese crossbow are on the way. He's done a fantastic job of microing down the Onager, because then his skirmishers can still counter the Genoese crossbow, but here comes another one from Mattheus. Mattheus could find some pickoffs of Trebs.
He could. This is not... Mattheus hasn't completely lost it because he has the Onager upgrade, which allows him to kill these Trebs and threaten these elite skirms. So I think that was a good decision because ooh, wow, nice dodge. I don't think he could have waited for chemistry to get out some bombard cannons. I don't. And oh wow, he's still dodging all those Treb shots, although I think that hit the villager in the face.
Yeah, it's just numbers now.
It's just a number shot.
Just look at the population difference, 182 to 112. Hearttt knows that he can fight against Genoese crossbow with Cavalier because he can afford to throw them away. And he's using the Cavalier for the Onagers. The skirmishers mop up the rest.
Nice.
Trebuchets are killing the rest. And Paladin's on the way for Hearttt, which is not something you see frequently in 1v1s due to its cost. But Hearttt, he knows he's that far ahead and he can afford to do so. Picks off more Onagers, more Genoese crossbow, and it wouldn't surprise me to see the GG call here.
Yeah, Cavalier is always the type of upgrade that we see because it's so cost efficient, so cheap, so fast, but Paladin is so slow, so expensive, and not enough units for Mattheus. He does not have access to the elite Genoese crossman yet. He doesn't have the economy for it, and I think it's just really crucial that even though Hearttt hasn't been controlling his Cavaliers the best, he's just been kind of throwing them into the fire. That's okay, because he has such a nice eco lead. A solid 20 villager lead. He's got 19, actually it's all fishing ships, I guess. And also the fact that as he moves further and further to the left, he's killing more and more villagers. So it's okay for him to lose a lot of units because he has an eco lead that's only going to grow further and further. Mattheus, though, being a little cute. He's got a secret gold mine, a secret castle. I don't think that really matters. Just can he hold the line? It's going to be tough.
Yeah, it's funny, that gold in the middle of the map or near the north where Mattheus castled, Hearttt has scouting all around that. He just didn't see that one little area. But it doesn't matter. Paladin. Yeah, it doesn't matter. He sees the he sees the score. He sees his populations at 100. Mattheus, yeah, he had no chance there. And that goes back to the feudal age engagements. Hearttt took the initiative. He killed the fish. He took the pawns. Then he had great trades after going into skirmishers to counter his opponent's archers. Oh, yeah. It was awkward for sure once the man-at-arms first came in. But since he had the fish advantage, he had a non-stop eco lead. there's a lot he did there that we can't really take the time to talk about. He got 4 relics. He was taking the additional golds. We mentioned the outposts, the micro, the tech. I mean, it's wild how good Hearttt played this one, and that's exactly how Huns have to play it against Italians.
Yeah, I would say that he played that Civ matchup immaculately well. Mattheus definitely knew how to play it too, in that he was making the correct units. I think that the Onager upgrade was an interesting strategic decision that was absolutely necessary for him to stay alive. But he called GG there for a couple quick reasons. One, his main gold just ran out in his base. That sucks. So where else are you going to mine gold from? The bottom half of his base? Well, too bad, because that's where Hearttt pushed through, and he did that intentionally. So then his remaining option is to mine gold in the middle of the map, which he has a castle protecting. That's risky, and I think he realized the moment he saw the Paladin upgrade that there's no way he's holding that gold, and he can't get Elite Genoese Crossman, which is such a huge upgrade from regular Genoese Crossman. He never got to leverage that chemistry. Poor Mattheus didn't quite get off the ground here with the Italians and really show us what they're capable of. And Hearttt, with that map control, holding all 4 pawns. Just a really well-played game. We've cast nothing but, like, well-played games today, T90. It's been great.
Yeah, Hearttt. That was masterclass from Hearttt for sure. Let's move on to the achievements. Again, Hearttt with more kills, but it comes down to the economy once again, and it's all stemmed from feudal age. More food for Hearttt, more wood for Hearttt, and more gold for Hearttt, and that would have only climbed as he had the relics and access to the extra golds. The technology stats, a lot more text research for Hearttt, due to the fact that he had the resources, and the map exploration as well was something we focused on during the cast.
Yeah, I mean, normally, historically, bigger army diplomacy has been a fairly standard tactic. And if you want to do bigger army diplomacy, it helps to have a bigger economy to back it up and pay for it. And as a result, Hearttt comes out on top. He knew the Civ matchup inside and out. What a great game. And I think it's time we move on to game 2. GG, well played.
Yep. Next game will be Scandinavia, guys. If Hearttt wins this, he moves on. Mattheus looking for a response after a well-played game, but I think there was a few things he needed to prioritize more on last game. The big one is the water, because he fell behind because of the water, and Hearttt just never let go of control. Game 2 coming up. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to game 2 between Hearttt and Mattheus. Hearttt convincing win last time around. Game 2 is Scandinavia, and both players are playing as Mongol, so this will be exciting stuff. Scandinavia is another one of these maps that involves the water and the land. This is a ECL version of Scandinavia, so it's more open than your standard Scandinavia, but you know the water is still the same. Now, on the left-hand side of the map, we have Hearttt. To the northeast, we have Mattheus. Mongols are very strong on this map because there's 3 boars and lots of deer to collect for food. Rez, I'm going to let you talk about the other elements of the map, like the golds and the stones. Sure. What do you think about the placement of it? Because remember last time it didn't really come into play late game, but there were some exposed golds that players had to lock down.
All right, I'd be happy to talk about the map. So, again, my name is Resonance22. Pleasure to be here. So, the golds. Let's first talk a little bit about... I'm going to talk a little bit on Mattheus at first. He's got a main gold that is almost as safe as it gets. It is at the edge of the map, right up against the black space. But it is crucially difficult to saturate with villagers because it is partially surrounded by trees. Now, this won't matter that much because there is one piece of gold that is on the outside. However, I do think you should build a lumber camp near this, a secondary lumber camp, to try and free up this gold mine, because that will actually screw him up later. As soon as he assigns, I'd say, more than 6 or 7 villagers, it's going to get really, really messy. His other 2 golds are in the front. Another interesting thing about this map, of course, is there's no forage bushes, so sorry, Franks. Definitely the Mongols are the civ to pick here. It's also a little bit more open, like you said, since the ECL map. So I expect to see perhaps some scout rushes from each of these players. They could end up going for a men-at-arms Trush style thing, or Dresh, we'll see, but regardless, early aggression is going to matter. Forward stone, forward gold for Hearttt. His main gold's not too bad. Like, that's a good position to put a town center. And actually, generally speaking, I would say that every player has some inconveniently placed resources. They do. They're almost all exclusively forward. Even this secondary stone for Mattheus, I'd say Mattheus is a marginally better map, but like that's only by a small margin. Even a secondary stone's kind of a pain. Now, he does have closer deer, which is significant because I think that Heartt's going to have a little bit of trouble actually walling around and protecting his deer. So that could be a point of contention. We'll have to see.
Yeah, you're right. The deer are a little bit more exposed for Heartt. There's one area of the map, good thought process on the golds and the stone locations. There's one part of the map which I find interesting. As the game goes on, both players will look to wall up a bit.
The cliffs, right?
And yeah, if you look at Mattheus's base, he can wall on the cliffs, which he's already beginning to do by building his barracks there. And then if you look a little bit further in towards Heartt's base, he has those wood lines and the cliff. So both players could wall there. Mm-hmm. And, last game, we saw Heartt have a huge priority on the fishing. He's already docked. And Mattheus, he has not docked. He's gone for a barracks. So yet again, we have one of those games where someone doesn't go for the eco boost to fish, and they go for aggression. If Heartt defends from this, he'll have a pretty big eco lead with the fishing ships.
Well, a very significant eco lead indeed. Now, I think that's going to be quite impactful. I feel like the way the map is laid out, like you said, Mattheus is already using the cliffs. That was something I was going to talk about, is that even though we shrunk the tree size just a bit, there are still cliffs. So this map is still definitely wallable. I could see potentially a stalemate type situation. However, when one player has the water, they get access to all that fish.
Yeah.
And the ability to transport ships as well.
Yeah. So Heartt has no military plans just yet. He's about to cook up the feudal age after Loom. And it's good that he has Loom because Mattheus is coming forward with militia. Heartt did not scout the barracks until just now, actually. So he must think a drush could be in order. And he'll see his...
going after the militia. Oh, he can see it, just barely.
Yeah, he sees the deer as well. We're getting killed off. So even though he hasn't actually scouted it, I'm pretty sure that he's figured out there's a drush incoming. And it's 4 militia for Mattheus. He's gone for the Huang strategy again. Huang is an AOC player who makes more than 3 militia. And he builds a mining camp, which is not the norm. But maybe Mattheus can use this to buy himself some time and wall up Rez. And go for a stronger feudal age eco, and then maybe lead towards a stronger Castle Age army comp.
That's what I'd like to see. Now, it could always be a deer plague, although they don't actually have that in the game, so it's probably a drush at this point. Now, here's what you don't do with your drush. If you really want to actually make a really big dent in your opponent's economy, try not to take any hits from the opposing town center.
Dang, dude.
It's the Death Star.
He lost the militia, and the other 2 that are remaining here next to the scout are extremely weak. That hurts, so he won't really threaten Heartt anymore. Heartt sending villagers to gold, so instead of going for scouts, I think he might go archers, which is smart because we've seen before where players would go scouts here. Remember Vivi and Shang Yu? He went scouts and then he ran into walls, so archers might be the smarter play. This is not something Heartt would have planned on initially, I feel, but he's done so after reacting to Mattheus' strategy.
So usually when I explain the game to new players, I often refer to the town center in the Dark and Feudal Age as a Death Star that you want to avoid at all costs. And this really applies with your drush, as that's a lot of damage. Like, these militia are so weak. Well, and especially when you're going for the Huang approach and you're really committing to this, not only do you have to replace the other militia, but these militia are just going to get clubbed by villagers. That is not what you want to see. And you're in the Dark Age, so your scout is missing extra attack. He's got to be so very careful with these militia. Even the spearmen coming out to do some extra damage. Now these villagers coming out, they've got Loom. There's some weak militia. He's going to have... No, he can kind of win this fight, but it's still just not pretty. He needs to wait for men-at-arms.
He added 3 more, then to just take a fight and take a couple more losses. Here comes the man-at-arms up, but the problem is he's fighting very close to his opponent's TC, so yeah, he has to avoid that Death Star. I was completely wrong. I'm confused by Heartt. He added a stable. The stable I did not expect. I guess he went to gold maybe so he could add some more like presence on water. So it will be scouts for Heartt instead of a range, and you know what? He's been idled by this, Rez. He has lots of idle villagers. He's lots of weak villagers. Maybe Mattheus, as he adds the walls, will be just fine. He doesn't have the fish, of course, but it's only 3 for Heartt, and Mattheus has good map presence.
Yeah, he does. He's got the map control, which is very essential on a map like Scandinavia, and he's doing the wall up like we suggested. He's going for double archer ranges. I think that as long as he can keep applying pressure, keep Hearttt bottled in his base, get to the Castle Age, get a better army out. He should be good to go. But we'll see. Because Heartt's got water, at least. And he's making another fishing ship as we speak. I wouldn't be too shocked for him to expand to the right side of the map to build another dock, even as a villager sitting there. He just doesn't have the wood for it. And he has to make a crucial decision, like, how much money is he going to spend on fishing ships? How much money is he going to spend on defense? That is the question. But I do think that his map is laid out quite nicely. Look at that little house wall over there. It's going to be difficult for Mattheus' men-at-arms to actually get in there and do some damage. Whereas meanwhile, the scouts are moving out.
Yeah, for me, it's a bit too risky to do what Mattheus has done. He's put everything into land, and as the game goes on, the fishing ships will be more and more important for Hearttt. Smart play from Hearttt to recognize that his opponent, after drushing, is not on water and just double down on the fish. And he has 3 scouts. I think he'll stop creating scouts after that, and he's mixing in skirms and archers. Mattheus is going with skirms and archers himself, but if he can't do damage res, Hearttt just grows and grows in his advantage in this game.
Indeed he does, and oh god, seeing him expand on the right side. Interesting, he's making a fire galley because he assumes that Hearttt will also be valuing the fish on the side. The more you play Scandinavia, and I've been playing this game online since like 2000 and I think it's like 2004 or something like that. So I can tell you that Scandinavia water control is very important. Mass skirms plus the men-at-arms. It's an interesting little synergy. Discourages your opponent from making archers, force him to make more skirms, slows down his castle time a little bit. It's kind of nice. This gold is a little vulnerable from Hearttt, but of course Heartt's like, all right, what do you do in this situation? Defensive watchtower. I love it. Well, but he's even going to delete it because he knows he doesn't really need it. Nice. Yeah. You just need to bluff it.
And at the same time, he killed a villager on the gold of Mattheus. The tower, it's interesting that he had fletching first, Hearttt. You know, he had fletching first. Must have been the fish that was bringing in that eco. Because he had fletching, I guess Mattheus decided to run back. The stones, I just want to point this out because both players might want stone later on. The Hearttt stone is right beyond his wall where the blacksmith is, and the other one's past his mill on the right. So those are resources that are exposed as he places a better placed tower. He'll need to collect more stone later on if he wants Mangadai and new TCs. And Mattheus comes in. This is good timing for Mattheus. He catches Hearttt off guard. Hearttt was looping around the right.
Yeah, and meanwhile, Hearttt actually lost the scouts that he had in Mattheus' base with some well-placed spearmen, and now the men-at-arms focus firing down the skirms, exactly what you want to do when the skirms can't attack them because of their minimum range, and you have the ranged units versus the ranged units. However, the men-at-arms do get picked off by 2 of Heartt's archers at the back. He's doing a great job with his control, but so is Mattheus. Who's got the better focus fire? That is the question, because there's some archers in the mix that you want your skirms targeting.
Well, it was a good fight for both, in all honesty. Like, Mattheus had more numbers. He's killed a lot of the numbers that Hearttt has, but Hearttt will get the tower up, so Mattheus has to end up leaving this area. But with 13 military, Mattheus might be feeling pretty good about his situation map control-wise. You know, if you don't have the fish, maybe consider docking now and sending fires in, though Hearttt is denying that with patrolling fires on the water. The other opportunity... A great way to jumpstart yourself, maybe, to get to Castle Age faster than your opponent is to market here. And normally I wouldn't recommend that to people. I wouldn't want people to rely on that. But as Hearttt builds a market, I think that a market for Mattheus and then buying a little bit of food might be a great way to push with a faster Castle Age.
Yeah, it's a great way if you have to. The market is a good way to salvage a game in a situation that's not fantastic. And you know what's also not fantastic? He hasn't actually started the foundation, really, of that stone wall. It's actually 60 HP. Yeah. That's potentially going to go down, but there's a hill for Hearttt, so maybe Hearttt can... I don't think so. It's going to be a little bit tricky for him, but at least he's got the market. So, and he's got the stone wall at the front. He just needs to hold on for a little bit longer. It's just like at this point in the game, the range is so short that he can't actually fight on that hill, but at least he'll be able to finish that stone wall. And I think with that, as long as he doesn't lose his archer, okay, he did. He should be fine. Just pull back.
Yep. So both players on the way to Castle Age. Hearttt has 43 villagers. It's 3 villagers more than what Mattheus has. Mattheus has a slight head start, and he also has more numbers. Fishing ships, though, is still 8 for Hearttt, so while he had a lot of idle time, and I think that's why his eco hasn't been the best over the last few minutes, he still has a stronger eco than his opponent, and that's why the scores is in Heartt's favor. Mattheus is still on 2 ranges at home. He's not creating anything more, so maybe he clicks Elite Skirm and then goes into Cav Archers. And Heartt, after seeing so many skirms from his opponent, he adds 2 stables res. So 2 stable knights. Well, actually, it's 3 stables because he has his initial one, right? So 3 stable knights. The decision from Heartt. He really wants to push back in the next stage.
Now, a normal person would say, 3 stable knights on 1 TC? Is this guy crazy? No, he's fishing ships. It's okay. So it's as if he has additional town centers. He actually could potentially sustain this production.
Yeah.
So I like this. I also really like it when you go for these stables in response after baiting your opponent into making a ton of skirmishers, especially if you can obfuscate that and your opponent doesn't know that you have those stables. However, Mattheus has actually seen them, I think. Or wait, no, he hasn't actually seen the secondary stables. He's only seen the primary one. So he might still get caught off guard. He is going to get caught off guard here. Oh, this happens time and time again. Bodkin Arrow, Elite Skirmisher coming down, and he is none the wiser that there are double stables. So the clock is ticking.
This is good for Mattheus. He's just missing out on these Vilpix. I kind of feel bad for the guy because he's close to getting Vilpix. Elite Skirmisher finishes, but the villagers just relocate. Heartt now mixing in those knights, which will possibly be a surprise. Heartt needs +2 defense, though. That's for sure. You know, Rez, I think that if Mattheus is indeed going for crossbow or cav archers, as he picks off 1 Vil, and he's close to picking off 2. Oh, there's a hole there! They over-chopped! Those villagers over-chopped, so these units can come in. Oh, this is huge. I mean, I know that Mattheus will lose his army, but he could get some real value from this and buy himself time at home to add TCs and add more military. I didn't see that overchop.
Neither did I. Oh, there's always a hole in the wall. Any event that Zero Empire's host, it's just, there's always a hole. It was bound to happen. And now, surprise, here comes the Knights. Raiding party. All of these elite skirmishers going to get absolutely obliterated. There's nothing he can do about that. And you know why? Because Heartt got husbandry. He was serious about mopping up this army. And with the reduced cost of husbandry, it was definitely a worthwhile investment. He had +1 defense. He had bloodlines. That's how you do it. Agent, that's why we talk about scouting. Hidden information is everything.
But to be honest, I think that was good for Mattheus. That army would have died anyway to the Knights. But instead, he kept Heartt's Knights back at his own base. And Mattheus was able to kill 2 of Heartt's villagers. And now he's had the time to mass the CA. And you need the time with the CA. Also, Mattheus is on 3 TCs. And Heartt, he's just now building his 2nd TC. So I think that hole was actually good for Mattheus despite losing his numbers. We will see, though. The Knights push forward from Heartt. They're just running into walls, though. Oh, but he has a Siege Workshop on the right-hand side. A sneaky Siege Workshop to bust down these walls.
That'd be some next-level mind games if you, like, accidentally chop a hole in your wall. We'll see.
The hole again, though, Rez. The hole again. Yeah. The CA ran right back in. Heartt didn't plug the gap. And Heartt...
He did not. And he's got Bodkin Arrow. And only +1 defense.
Mattheus should just go for Vilpix here. Just kill villagers.
It's going to be a massacre. It's going to be a massacre. It's okay. Honestly, these are only 6 cavalry archers, which is plenty to kill these villagers with Bodkin. Plenty. But the thing is that Horse are going to pull out. I think either is okay, but I would probably just sacrifice.
Yeah, it's
indecision.
The lack of bloodlines, lack of husbandry, I guess. He also he just took a poor engagement versus the Knights at his own base, Mattheus. Heartt is down 10 villagers, but he's up 11 fishing ships. It's deceiving, but he's still ahead. And now with military, he has way more than Mattheus. I really thought that after those pickoffs in Heartt's base, he would have the number of CA.
Same.
He lost some numbers, though, in both engagements. So now he needs to pull back, boom up, and maybe mass the Cav Archers enough where he can kill the Mangonels and the Knights.
Yeah, he's just a little short in the gold. So far, every single series I've cast with you, which has featured excellent play, I've been thoroughly enjoying casting with you as always, D90. We've seen fantastic play. We've also seen time and time again a little bit of indecision, and I think that indecisiveness is costing players some games. I think that Mattheus had he had 2 options there. It was either 1, escape the base and don't fight the Knights and just be content with your 2 villager pickoff at the lumber camp, or just lose all your cavalry archers and try and trade for the villagers. But instead, he just he rolled around and he ended up taking a lot of damage from those knights and just not getting as many villager pickoffs as possible. Now, that Mangonel Blast hurt a lot, but once you get bloodlines for the cavalry archers, that's when they start getting cost-efficient and good. And ooh, I like the camel mix-in. This is great, and the Mangonel's so slow, T90. Will this be good enough?
It's hard to say. There's still +2 knights with the attack upgrades. I don't like the engagement for Hearttt, though. I don't think he should have committed that far. So yeah, he pulls back. He'll get a conversion on a camel if he gets lucky. He misses out on that conversion. And now if you look at the military, it's 21-20. And obviously the Mangatai are great, but the Mongol cav archers are not just as good, but they're the second best thing you can go for as Mongols. And Heartt's going with knights, and he'd want to transition at some stage. So composition better for Mattheus. Economy close. Now this is as close a game we've casted today, I believe.
It is the closest game. This game could definitely go either way, and I really like that Hearttt is mixing in his own camels. But crucially, Hearttt actually has the blacksmith upgrades for them, whereas Mattheus has none. He does have bloodlines because he was going for cav archers, and he's building another archer range. Did he lose some houses? He got housed. It's pretty funny, actually.
Yeah, he lost him on the front there.
He lost him on the front. He got housed. Oh, man. So he's getting Strategic Town Watch, which I'm sure that everyone in the chat is very familiar with. Strategic Town Watch. You didn't mean to get housed. You just wanted to get your Town Watch timing perfectly. And that's exactly what he's doing. I like to see that Hearttt is using his monks to get a little bit of extra value out of his beefy units to actually full heal them. I think that's going to be essential. And
army's coming forward from Mattheus now.
He's doing it with a thumb ring timing attack.
Yeah, and ballistics on the way. Now Hearttt recognizes he shouldn't be creating knights and camels for too long. Despite him getting cavalier and heavy camel, he lacks the upgrades in imp and he wants momentum. So he's heavy on stone. He'll build a castle soon, Rez. Now, we saw the hull here many times already, and I guess Hearttt is gonna... Wait.
No.
There's still a hull there. There's still a hull there. It's the same place. He just didn't see it, I guess. So the cav archers and camels run in, and Hearttt has to chase this. That's 3 times now. How annoyed would you be? He's got to be salty.
It's like me and my, what a sick quick wall immediately gets just destroyed. And it's like, what an almost quick wall immediately just backs off. Yeah, I mean, that must be tilting. And speaking of tilting, how about this hill? Oh my goodness. He's got the high ground, sorta, kinda, and there are a lot of camels. You want the camels to fight the camels and the other knights. Will he win this battle? Wow, blacksmith upgrades really matter. I think that's holy crap.
Yeah, it's the +2, man, and also it's right next to Heartt stables. And Hearttt now builds a castle on the front. So the first time the hole was there, I still maintain I think that engagement was good. That engagement was good. The second one. You had mentioned he was a bit indecisive. Like, he could have done more with that,
it could have been really good. Yeah.
Correct. Now, that one was not the best because he lost all of his numbers, which they're only successful if they're masked, right? Now, Hearttt builds a forward castle. Mattheus comes in with another batch, but now Hearttt can make Mangatai, and Hearttt has 11 less villagers, 11 more fishing ships. I mean, it's still very close there. It could be anybody's game still. But it's a little bit worse for Mattheus now that Hearttt has been able to get one castle up and will soon follow up with a second.
I even bought the stone for it, which is what I like to see. That is one of the things the market can definitely be useful for, is if he waited, honestly, and didn't buy stone, that could swing the game against him, because this game is very close. So it's going to come down to some control here, because I think these Mangonels are going to die. They're doing some good splash damage, but at the end of the day, that's 135 wood down the drain. It's a lot of gold down the drain as well.
The big difference now, Mattheus has 230 food because he invested into camels, and he invested into thumb ring. He invested into, more upgrades, right?
And even pikemen.
And Hearttt has the resources to click to imp. So the composition you want to go with as Mongols is Mangatai. He doesn't have the numbers of them, but he will hit the Imperial Age before his opponent. Still, this gives a time window for Mattheus, right? Because his army can't be countered at the moment. So here he goes through the market, and Hearttt is gating the market off.
There is no counter. Okay, so I was really worried for a minute. Until I saw that Mattheus was 40 seconds behind it. That is not too bad. That's not too bad, because he would lose the Treb War and maybe the game would snowball out of control. But right now, this is really anyone's game and super duper exciting. Hearttt is behind in his upgrades. He's got to research 1 million of them to make his Mangudai and Cavalry Archer strong. He needs his Thumb Ring upgrade. He's getting leather archer armor. He might get to Imp first, but Mattheus is a very difficult to beat army. Very difficult. And he's pushing through. With this market down, that's actually going to make things a little annoying for Hearttt to readjust his eco. So we'll see how this plays out. 40 seconds.
One player went for a lot of momentum with the ideal unit, and one player went with the boom to hold off to get to their ideal unit. And the problem for Hearttt now is the lack of those numbers. But he's massing them up. He will hit him a little bit earlier. But Mattheus has a huge military lead, and he also will be on 2 castles back at home, and soon 3. Though I don't. You see these gold miners? They're running into Heartt's castle on the front. I think he.
Oh no.
I don't know where they're going. But I don't think they're going to build a castle there, so that was going to be the next thing I said. Are they going to build a... Gotcha.
No, I don't know where they're going either. I think they're looking for a wolf, and they found one, which is fantastic. Yeah, everybody, T90 woo! So, Mattheus is in. He's in the base. He's got his shredded wheat ramming down that stable, and he's got another ram coming in there. Now, Parthian tactics coming down, conscription coming down, what a crucial tech. Interesting, chemistry being prioritized here. Bracer for Mattheus. These rams will blow down these stables. Are there enough Mangudai? I don't know. At least the Mangudai can pick off the battering ram, but this is going to be really, honestly close. The fact that Mattheus took that gold mine away from Hearttt and the market would be decisive.
Hearttt definitely lacks the gold. He's rebuilding that market now. He has I'm checking the gold piles. Just one gold pile. There's a few tiles left on it, and he will need to regain this gold. Mattheus is playing this like Hearttt did late game last time, where he builds the outpost. He gets good vision on the map. He looks for the extra golds. That's why he was building that outpost earlier. And he's actually going to dock on the right-hand side.
He's even grabbing a relic.
I guess push the fish, though I don't think that's too important right now.
He's definitely borrowing some of Heartt's strategy from last game, and I think he's executing it incredibly well. Like, this is such an evenly skilled game. Like, Mattheus is playing fantastically, and same with Hearttt as well.
Yeah.
It's anyone's game at this point. This battering ram, though. Battering ram is dead. The trebs are out. Really sucks when your opponent gets the first treb, because then you waste so much stone repairing a castle. It can snowball out of control. But one crucial thing is that Mattheus does have his castle on a hill, so it will take 25% reduced damage from those treb shots. And when the treb shots deal billion damage, that matters. Heartt's, I think, he's a little bit behind on upgrades, but I don't think that this Elite Mangudai window will be too significant. We'll see. He's coming in at actually just the right time. But Stone Gates, I was telling everybody earlier, Stone Gates asterisk, best point, best unit in the game. This building, look at this.
The question is this where Mattheus needs to be right now? Because with Elite Mangudai, he could be sniping the trebs that Hearttt has. He doesn't even need to worry about a treb war when you have Elite Mangudai. He can snipe the trebs. And he has, at least combining the Cav Archers and the Mangudai, he has more numbers. So we'll see. He will go in after this gold and try and hold in the north. But now Hearttt pushes in the north.
Oh, he's going to snipe the
one
treb.
trebuchet. He'll kill 2, and I think that means his castle will go down. So both players choosing different areas to prioritize. The population's very close. This stable will go down now, and Mattheus will continue to run in. This is the one area he's run into a bunch of times this game.
Is this the right play? Is this the right play to go for the base race? Because I just don't like going for base races versus trebs. Why? Because this army of Mattheus, even though he has the point advantage right now, he's picking off a ton of villagers. He's knee-deep in this eco. It took him a long time to actually get in there. And if this castle goes down, then Mattheus is in deep, deep trouble. But he is massing elite skirms, which is the correct response here to at least just have bodies. And now Hearttt is suffering from indecision yet again. He might pull back, and he might start mixing in hussars.
Yeah, and Hearttt at the same time will lose his trebs on the front. See, Mattheus has 2 more castles than Hearttt, so if he loses one, he's still ahead. Great pickoffs from him on the front. it's not necessarily indecision. It's like half indecision from Hearttt, but also like Mattheus is making him be indecisive, right? With his mobility, it's amazing, Rez.
Yeah.
He's still denying the gold. He has 76 military versus the 40 of Hearttt, and he's now stopped Hearttt from killing his castle. This is huge. And while Light Cav is an option, it's all about Mangadai and Mongol Wars, and that's what Mattheus had a lot more of, at least for now, because Hearttt was able to get that one group from Mattheus next to his gold.
Ooh, is he boxed in? Is this going to be the fight that decides the game? The horde of Genghis Khan approaches. Will it be enough? The Cav archers are not that useful at this point in the game. It's all going to be about the focus fire, and it's not on the stone wall. I was telling everyone about stone gates. It's stone gates asterisk are good, not stone walls. He needs to take those camels off as well. Oh no, he has the high ground, but no.
Luckily, he has the hill, but he will lose this army. But it's not the end of the world, Rez, because he still has the same number of military. He's still pushing forward on the front, and he's trebbing Heartt's castle. Does Hearttt have a response to this without gold? He's going to lose this castle. He doesn't even have the stone to repair, so he's purchased the stone to repair. Here comes Hearttt again to the north. Now, Hearttt regained the score lead. The Bills are dead even, 106 to 106. And Hearttt might need to snipe the Trebs, and if he wants to do that, he has to engage first skirmishers in a choke point.
Wow.
I still like Mattheus's position. I still like it, but it's anybody's game.
I do too. And hey, at least his two camels are still pressuring that segment of stone wall. That is what really matters. I like that Mattheus has built a castle on the right side of the map to control that extra gold mine. That will be crucial as this game drags on, where players will inevitably have to invest in Hussars. Now, I like that Hearttt invested in Hussar first because the elite skirms are clearly here to counter the elite Megadai. So that should help him out quite a bit. However, he is losing villagers, definitely. He's now very slightly behind. He's going to have to take a decisive battle soon, or he's in deep trouble. And the trebuchets are moving in. Heartt's just low on money. He doesn't have a lot of gold, and Mattheus is just channeling his inner Huns.
That engagement was good for Hearttt to start. And actually, this is a great engagement for Hearttt. He killed all the skirmishers with the Light Cav. He has more Mangadai firing. The Trebs pull back, so that's a great engagement for him. His issues are, regaining the golds and securing his golds, but the population now in Heartt's favor as he gets another Treb. Wow. Both Trebs he'll get.
Ooh, snipes. Wow. I really thought that Mattheus was going to apply some really, really heavy pressure to the front of Heartt's base at that town center with those Trebs. They end up having to retreat. And again, it's just because it's the elite skirms versus the Hussars. Both of them realize they need to conserve gold for their Mangadai and their trebuchets and use the market very, very efficiently. However, he's got Hussar first, well, or at least Light Cav, which is better.
Yeah.
And he's getting elite skirm now as well.
Well,
Nice.
The biggest problem for Hearttt is that he doesn't have castles. It's 1 versus 5. So while he might have a little bit of gold coming in, it's really difficult for him to get numbers. And as I said, it's really all about the Mangadai. Hussar and Light Cav, they're okay. But if Mattheus has more Mangadai, he wins the game. And Mattheus also has 3 relics. Mattheus also has the 1 gold along the shoreline on the right-hand side. And as I say that, he's adding stables there, so I guess he'll raid from that flank. And it's going to be tough for Hearttt now after losing the castles and not securing his stones and golds. I think you play this super safe if you're Mattheus, Rez. You raid from the sides, you keep your Mangadai alive, and you just slowly finish Hearttt off.
That's why I just love that Mattheus has invested so much on the right corner of the map. With that castle, he's also building a ton of stables there in case he gets raided. He's also expanding his farmers over there as well. It so turns out that you can not build any fishing ships and still do really well in Scandinavia if you play super carefully. Now, he is fighting underneath the town center. He's not doing what we were thinking of, which was, just kind of playing defensively and exploiting the fact that you've got better resources. In fact, he's actually sustaining heavy losses. He still has the Mangadai lead, but it's close.
I mean, it wasn't the most ideal fight, but it's still a good situation for him, Rez. And he sniped. The reason I said, ooh, is because he sniped the 1 relic next to Heartt's dock on the left. So that'll be 4 relics for him. Also, there is a gold in the back corner of Heartt's base.
I was going to point that out.
West, but he hasn't been on it. Yeah, he hasn't been on it.
He scouted it, though. but he hasn't actually started mining it, which I find really fascinating, because he knows it's there. He scouted it, but what I think happened is that it's so close to the shore that it just doesn't stick out to him. Like, it's right next to shallow water. Like, he might have just not noticed it, but he has actually scouted it. Meanwhile, Mattheus, he knew about his secondary gold, and he's spending it like it's no one's business. And now he's even dropping an outpost, taking it. Man, outposts have been really, really good these last few games. Chain Barding Armor from Mattheus, he's definitely thinking light cavalry. He's got some Hussar on his mind. He might not even upgrade to Hussar just because Hussar is so expensive for what you get. But light cavalry definitely matters in this matchup. But like you said, it's the Mangudai number, and the Mangudai number is decisively in Mattheus's favor. Although he's going to have to pull out because he doesn't want to lose them to Elite Skirms.
Yeah, I think the play here is Master Mangudai. He's killing Heartt's villagers, right? So he's on the front killing Heartt's vills. He has more map control. And then raid with Light Cav on the sides. And where that 1 gold was to the southern edge of Heartt's base, it's now being raided by Light Cav. So Heartt's not in a position to really damage Mattheus at all. Mattheus just has to close this out. He has relics. He has the castles. So it's going to be a slow process now. Heartt actually struggling to find wood that's not being hit as well. So I think Mattheus knows that, and if he continues doing what he is doing, he should eventually win the game. But, you know, Heartt, he bought a second castle. He has gold still, Rez, and he's gone to the gold in the back. So if Mattheus keeps taking these fights, which are lackluster, you never know, I guess.
59-minute horse collar. Oops, that actually matters a lot. And this is when I need to get in the scenario to do another analysis video here. I wonder how much wood was lost to that. Getting horse collar 59 minutes in the game.
Horse collar is not important.
So much.
It's not important.
It's a terrible upgrade. That and double bit X, never get it, guys. It's
never
awful.
get it. Never get
don't do any damage. It's not it's not farms plus 75 damage. If it was, it would be good. But anyway, so right now we're going to see a big battle here. Single archer probably misclicks. I'm not sure. Probably mishotkeys. Heartt has to deal with so much stuff right now that it's definitely normal that he would miss an upgrade like that. So it's going to come down to focus fire here. Will his Elite Skirms pick off the Mangudai? And will Heartt outnumber Mattheus' Mangudai?
Yeah, I mean, Heartt's fights, again, just better. They're patrolling in their units, and the units in front for Heartt was the Skirms. And for some reason, Mattheus had his Mangudai in front. So while Mattheus still has a population lead, the KD's even when Mattheus has had a huge resource advantage and population advantage with military. It's weird, but you know, Mattheus has set himself up for late game, as I said, and that's the reason he's still like holding in when he's not taking the best fights. And Mangudai in the back of Heartt's base now. He's killing some villagers there. That's great.
Another Conqueror's AI play. Oh god, he shot through the trees.
Still holding on the front. And if Mattheus plays this right and just splits up his Mangudai, he could go to that back pocket where the gold is, that back pocket where the wood is for Heartt, and he could kill everything. And yeah, there he goes. Just being annoying now.
One point I see was dark times. I feel like the old AI haunts us all, and we just chop through our own wood lines. Well, now good news is that Heartt did remember that he does have that spare gold at the back. However, now he has to run the villagers away, so now he's not actually gathering any gold at all. Now, Mattheus doesn't have much in the bank. He's got 3 relics.
It's gotta be near the end now. Just look at the vill count for Heartt. He's lost so much in this raid. Mattheus doesn't have to deal with this. So with the additional relics, Mattheus now gets his 4th. I was waiting for him to collect that. Yeah, it's 180 population to 130, and Heartt has no momentum. And on the front, I'm just waiting for Mattheus to mix in a Treb to kill the castles there. But
University quick wall. There we go. That's what Rez likes to see.
He's trying, right? He's trying.
That's what I like to see.
The quick wall will ensure that these Mangudai die. They're Manga dead. Not bad. Not bad.
Well, he's taking a page out of my book, which is, you know, making sure that you're using the market, because he's definitely floating a lot of wood, and it's a shame to have a wood problem, but we see it time and time again in these tournaments. So make sure he sells that wood so he can sustain unit production. Really, what's like winning this game for him is that he is attacking Heartt's base from all angles, making sure that Heartt has absolutely no room to breathe, suffocating him and his economy. There's just nowhere for these villagers to farm. They can't play farming simulator. No res farms in sight. And even though Mattheus is going to actually get boxed in by University, which is hilarious, and lose a ton of Mangadai, which is hilarious. I don't know if it'll be decisive, but one other thing is that Hearttt, I think, has some trebs. I saw some trebs in his base. Did they die?
He could have 10 trebs and he's still dead. I think. Like,
how many trebs would it take?
170. Yeah, exactly. How many trebs would it take to come back here? Maybe if he had Werewolf trebs with Britons. Yeah. Mattheus deserves this victory, man. 115 population for Hearttt. Like, pop is normally a good indicator.
Bleeding him out.
Yeah,
just bleeding
exactly. Him out. And while we were watching the university block, I guess.
Oh, because we're trying to learn.
As you said, the Hussars were picking off villagers, and 77 vills and 1 relic is not enough to fund Mangadai. So I think this batch of Mangadai is all Hearttt will get. He doesn't even have much wood to sell. And then after he loses this batch, I don't see how he can't even mix in light calf now, Rez. So
yeah,
he's out of resources.
Because he just has no way to get his farms to work.
Rez, he's out of res. I've been waiting to say that all day. He's out of res. He doesn't have anything left. And because of that, I think it'll, again, after these Mangadai die.
His res count's dropped to 22, but he is trying to build the stone gate I've been telling you all about this entire day. It's very, very good, except when it's at 45 HP, then it's a little less than good. Honestly, if you can have Hussar at this point, it does matter, even though it is overcosted. It's helping out a lot. And really, like we said earlier, Hearttt just slowly, steadily got pincer attacked from all sides, got surrounded by Mattheus. And I have to say, that was an impressive comeback from him, by the gods. There are so many gates in this game, too. I just don't know how he overcame it. And especially with Hearttt, with that brilliant play of trying to build that university next to Mangadai. But the Mongols, they don't want to go to school. And that still wasn't enough.
Yeah,
I'm impressed.
It was one of many things Hearttt did to try and come back, but it was not going to be enough. What this came down to was massing the right unit, I think. Hearttt had
definitely
a strong economy. Remember the fishing ships we stressed many times, but he went with knights and camels, and eventually the CA massed, and Mattheus had all the required upgrades for his Mangadai. And when Hearttt was on his way to the Imperial Age, while he clicked up first, he didn't have any map control. Mattheus took advantage of it, got the relics, got the stones, got the golds, and then that's why he won the game in the end. Heartt's fights themselves were actually really good, right? I think his engagements were pretty good, considering he was outnumbered a lot. That KD is almost even, which is solid, but he lost out on so many of the important things you need to have in late game Mongols War. I may be biased because I casted this, but I think that is the game of the day right there. I didn't see all the games earlier, so maybe Zach, once we do the achievements here, can tell us. But that was a crazy game, and that means we're going to see a game 3.
Yeah, you guys got to share this game around if you see it. This is definitely one of my favorites that I've seen so far. The level of play on both sides was just utterly fantastic. I think people were perhaps underestimating the impact of those cavalry archers as well with that fight on the hill. Yeah, they're not Mangadai, they're very slightly weaker, but really, I just feel like Mattheus had better unit choices, like you said. The only thing that he mixed in there that he maybe didn't need to was like pikemen, but I feel like he just transitioned to the right things at the right time, and he managed to really take advantage of Heartt's skirms and having Hearttt kind of make the first move in regard to those counter units while he got the Mangadai up. But this is just such a fantastic game. It's very swingy, and exactly why I love casting AoE 2 so much. Let's go to the achievements.
All right, with the achievements, KD very close. Mattheus had 441 kills, 431 units lost. So that was even. The largest army, though, that is crucial. And then, of course, the economy. Mattheus had more food, wood, stone, and gold. And the big one there is stone. There were a few stones that were exposed that Mattheus was able to collect. And then the golds as well, the additional golds and the relics Mattheus was able to collect. And that is why he eventually starved Hearttt out. I imagine, I guess the research count, it doesn't really matter all that much. The scouting was even amazing in this game. Both players. This late game. But I think that's all I can say about that, man. Like that was so wild.
Close. It was wild. It was like really the unit skill versus unit loss tells the whole story. It was so close. The only reason the eco stats were higher was because eventually Mattheus started really destroying Heartt's eco. But man, that was so close. If you think about it, and I always break down expert AOC this way, it is about the little microscopic advantages that you can accumulate and leverage over your opponent over the course of a game. And that is what Mattheus did. There were so many points where Hearttt had the lead, but think about the value of 1,400 gold from those 4 relics. It doesn't seem like that much money. In a team game, it's really not. But here, it is. And just that was a great game. I'm really glad I got a chance to cast this one with you, and I'm super excited for the next one.
Yeah, me too, man. Next game is going to be a Valley. I'd like to remind you all, this is a best of 3. So whoever wins the next game moves on. And it'll be sad to see one of these guys be knocked down.
Because they're so good.
Yep.
All right, let's take a quick 30-second water break, I think, for both of us after that, so that we still have some degree of voice. But y'all enjoyed that. Make sure to share this match around. We appreciate you supporting competitive AoE 2 by watching the stream, and we will be right back with the next game, which cannot be anything but awesome at this point. So thank you for all your support, everybody.
Yeah, I'm gonna jump in now, I guess, where you have your water break. And thanks some people out there. Nimino, thanks for the sub. Di Santiago for the 500 bits. Et Arpad donating a sub to Discern AoE. More donations as well. Deuce Waltz with $5 and Da Viper with $3. Also thanks to Digital Jedi, Jerry Think, and Hauptling HD for the subs as well. Those subs and donations, well, the subs will support the channel directly, and the donations will be split equally among casters and admins. So your support is much appreciated. Don't forget as well, we will be streaming tomorrow at the same time, same place, 14 GMT on the EscapeAoE channel here tomorrow. It's going to be me and Killer B in the morning, and then T90 and Dave, the classic iconic duo, tomorrow afternoon for the third, for the 4th, 5th, and 6th sets, I should say. So by tomorrow, we will have finished the round of 16 and the round of 8. So lots and lots more Age of Empires to come still this weekend. But you guys, if you're ready, we can go and get this third game going and find out who will be the victor, Mattheus or Hearttt, in this best of 3.
I'm here and ready to go whenever Rez is.
I am back and ready to go. Hydrated so that we have a voice. I'm really looking forward to this one.
Yeah, all the games have, the focus has been aggression, and Valley will be even more aggressive than Scandi. You don't have that water element, so it's all about the central area. And here we go, guys, for game 3.
Yep, indeed we are into game 3. This is going to be between Mattheus and Hearttt as part of the Escape Gaming Champions League. And this has been an awesome series. Before we get too far into this game, make sure that you watch the previous matches in this series first, or you're missing out. This is game 3. Previous games are great. So, on the right side, we've got Mattheus playing as the Red Indians. And on the left side of the map, we have Hearttt playing as the Blue Indians. And today I have the pleasure of being joined by T90 Official. So, T90, take it away.
All right, so you said it's an Indians war. Let's talk about the maps. We'll start with Mattheus. Mattheus has some awkward hills. That's the first thing I noticed when I looked at his base. He has 2 golds and a stone on the back, which is great. Wood line to the south and the east. Plenty of wood, plenty of gold, plenty of stone. It's just that locking that down at times can be difficult. So if this goes late game, walling in between the wood lines on the front will be helpful, and locking down that hill. Hearttt, he has less hills going for him around crucial resources, and it's a little bit easier to wall as well. But this is not a huge deal. This is not game-changing. I think this game will be especially interesting because it's a mirror matchup, so it's truly about who makes the best decisions, not just about your options, just like last game, which was awesome. And I guess we should touch on Valley, right? So it's not just the golds and the stones and the wood. Valley, you oftentimes see aggression in the center. There's deer there, there's shorefish, Indians. They're a civilization that often click up the feudal age on 20 population, so very early because their villagers are cheaper. And if you want to afford more of them, afford more scouts, afford more camels, etc., then you need to get to the deer in the center there.
Indeed you do. As especially what's really interesting about the Indians is that they have an eco bonus that very rarely comes into play, which is that the fishermen work 15% faster and carry plus 15 more. And we all know how fast that villagers actually gather from shore fish compared to fishing ships. It's very efficient. So this means that building a mill in the center of the map is even more important on a map like Valley. So I'm definitely excited to see the decision-making between the players being the decisive factors. There's also going to be various things at play, such as how the map has been generated. That's not going to determine who wins or loses, but it's whoever adapts better to the map is going to be the one who comes out on top. The gold is very safe for Heartt. At least his main gold. But he lost it. Yeah, but he just lost a villager, so it evens up. It evens up.
I mean, apparently the gold's not safe, Rez. People die over there. Jeez. That hurts. And luckily, he can still advance early because it's so easy to do so as Indians, but that's never good to see at an expert level. That's rare.
That is absolutely rare.
So I wanted to touch on, just compare this game to the last game a little bit. Mattheus was in a stronger late game position, and thus he was able to win against Heartt, but I don't think he took the best engagements. I don't think his judgment was there in the fights. So I think in Feudal and Castle, as this map is a little bit more open. Oh, you saw it too? Mattheus just lost the villager.
It's cursed. It's cursed.
Yeah.
What's going on?
He's a nice guy. He's just trying to even it out.
Yeah, it's good sportsmanship. Everybody exactly. Applaud. It's good sportsmanship. That's what. Yes.
But anyhow, back to what I was saying. Back to what I was saying. I would give Heartt the edge in the micro wars and the battles. So Mattheus should probably look to take advantages of the things he did last game, like the relic positions, the gold positions, and the map positions. Heartt clicks to Feudal Age with 18 villagers, and it will be 19 villagers for Mattheus, which is the only reason he's a little bit behind. And both players have pushed in deer. It'll be the second deer now for Mattheus, and I believe it was, also 2 for Heartt. So pretty close. Even pretty close with everything. 2 lumber camps, we'll see. 1 villager dead, 2 deer. Everything's even here for the most part.
Indeed, we're very close. It's just a villager difference between the two, and we do see that reflected in the age uptime, although the age uptime is a little bit off of Heartt's. It's more than just 1 villager. We'll see, though, if that makes a significant impact. I'm going to say it might not, just because even though Heartt is, about 45 seconds faster, guess who's fully walled up? Mattheus is. Mattheus is very nicely walled up, and he also happens to have some safe golds and stones, so we might see another epic game on our hands. I'm very, very much looking forward to this one.
He's getting his boar now. That's so weird.
All right.
He got his... I was comparing the cow numbers, and I was thinking, why on earth does Mattheus have less cows? They didn't lame each other. Well, Mattheus is getting his boar as he is on his way to Feudal Age, which is a little bit unorthodox. The problem with walling up like this, Rez, is it's expensive. It's expensive. It does buy you time, but it's expensive, and I believe it scouts for both. That was my assumption going into this anyway. Mattheus now lacks the wood to build the stable.
Any wall is
already building his. So I think the better economic approach with this is to wall up after you build your stable and just take your good old time with it. And when you wall up as early as Mattheus did, you kind of surrender full map control. You might not even build a stable. It's weird.
He was like, I don't have enough wood because of exactly what T90 said, so I might as well get double bid axe. And he's like, oh no, at this rate, I might as well get horse collar as well. Yeah. Actually, at this rate, maybe I should just do something else. He's also forfeiting map control. So not only did he spend, $4 billion, $6 billion, $8 billion, $20 billion, it'll get hard to pay for it on the wall, but also he, importantly, this is forfeiting map control on Valley, where there's so much deer, so much shorefish. And I would like to see Heartt take advantage of that. I would. As soon as Heartt realizes that.
Yeah, he definitely sees the walls there. He almost lost the villager, Heartt, to the scout from Mattheus, but now Mattheus will have to run away with his scout. So I guess a good job from Heartt to keep his villa alive as he's trying to wall up. Heartt saw the wood line on the left from Mattheus. He scouted that, but I don't think he'll make the decision to go forward with the tower. It's just better for him to add farms at home and probably stop creating scouts now. I think he has more than enough.
Yeah, that's why we got the res farm. I do think that is the right decision. It is tempting to forward your opponent here. Very tempting. But you must resist. Resist the urge to trush. Why? Because Hearttt does not have enough information to make this worthwhile. He definitely could, but crucially, he has not scouted the gold at the front on that hill in Mattheus's base. So he doesn't even know that that would be the perfect spot to drop a tower if he was going to. All he knows is that Mattheus is fully walled up. He doesn't really know where Mattheus is. He doesn't really have a good idea of where Mattheus's villagers are. He only knows where one wood line is. And there's a safe wood line at the back. It's just not worth it. I prefer that he does a little bit of scout pressure on these palisades, walls up himself, tries to get his economy going, and don't think he'll get through the palisade wall in time. But in the meantime, it looks like Mattheus was like, actually just get a fast castle, but get double bid X and horse color first. Okay.
Yeah, it's interesting because Mattheus has gone for these aggressive walls. As you said, his opponent doesn't know where his resources are. He also doesn't know if tree range is hidden here. Like, Mattheus could be going with 2-range archers, and he's about to unleash 15 of them with fletching. Like, Hearttt has no clue, and that's why he's keeping an eye on all of this. But yeah, it will be I don't know if it's a fast castle, but it's a fast castle.
It's a castle.
A feudal age scout build. So regardless, 1 or 2 camels will be able to kill. Well, 1 camel can kill those 3 scouts from Hearttt. I think we'll see camels on camels in Castle Age, but Mattheus clicks up first.
I spent forever on my fast Castle Age and a Knights tutorial, but now I need to do a new tutorial on just getting to the Castle Age. It's not a fast castle build, just Castle Age.
Yeah, man.
You just do it.
Definitely. I'll wait for that. Can't wait.
Yeah. I'll try and get Nilly's analysis and Viper's analysis, and we'll see. Now, I think this is fine though. He's adapting. And in the meantime, Heartt's not going to get to accomplish too much with his scouts, but I also think that Hearttt is adapting to this properly. He's only 40 seconds behind to the Castle Age, and they're both Indians, so they're both very content with just booming. So they might as well just drop down as many town centers as they can and get a massive, massive army. I find it interesting how Mattheus is playing this game, but I think, though, that information is crucial. And that's why losing your scout early on can be devastating. And, whoa, rogue spearman! Watch out!
Yep. Is that spearman? I guess it's worth it. We're talking about a very small investment, but I think the reason Mattheus made that was so he would have to stop Wong behind. That was getting annoying. He had to build palisades and houses and idling villagers. Rez, one thing I want to point out quickly.
Yes.
Mattheus doesn't have great TC locations. Like he doesn't have flat ground. So if he wants to TC his gold, that's awkward. If he wants to TC his wood, that's fine, but he can't even TC the gold in the front. Whereas if you look at Hearttt, Hearttt has flat ground, so his TC locations will be better. And Mattheus added scouts for some reason. That is a surprise to me. Maybe to pick off monks later on?
Nah, but he's remembering the golden rule. Get Bosaw very quickly. T9, can you even build a town center on Southern Gold? Or is that hill just... I don't think he can. I think he was trying to, but I don't think it fits. That's awkward. So you're right. It's actually even worse, potentially. I really feel like he barely has a place to put a TC. He probably has to put it at the bottom of that hill. Yeah, though the hill placement is quite terrible for him indeed. Has the scouts for map control. I think he did that specifically because... Ooh, wow, great control by Mattheus. Once again, another scout with 1 HP. Every game I cast with you, it's just like, the unit control is out of this world. If only we saw some galley wars or something. But like, yeah, you get the Bosaw first. Defensive monks, this is interesting. I've actually cast a similar game like this with Mem. Wow, yeah, he just has no good places to put his TC. I think he went for the scouts, like I said, because I think he assumed that Hearttt would take advantage of the fact that Mattheus purposely bottled himself in with the wall and would be gathering from the deer and the shorefish. But everyone forgot it was Valley, even though we have it in the PDF.
I think it's just too much of a risk.
It is.
It might be too much of a risk to go to the center. I like the Scouts edition from Mattheus, in all honesty. If he utilizes these correctly, but look at this. Oh, he lost his monk. Did you see that the monk came out of the gate and Hearttt happened to be there?
Whoa, no.
That's huge. I was just about to say that Mattheus would use his scouts to pick off monks, and that's why he added them, and I liked the idea. Well, he he lost his scouts, or sorry, his monk to camels, which is what he wants to convert. So it's a boom war, Rez. I doubt we'll see a ton of upgrades. It's about the small things, getting the relics now, because this will go late game, keeping your army numbers up. And I guess there's still a big question mark over how Mattheus will lock down these golds on the hill, and the stones even. Like, those resources, that hill, that's tough when you're going with melee units to protect it.
He's basically going to have to rely on protecting his back resources with the castle and then putting his TC in crappy positions. He's just going to not have good TC positions. But if he puts a castle at the front, that's going to probably cost him and just end up being tread fodder, as this game is transitioning into an arena-esque metagame. So we are going to expect to see trebs. We are going to expect the game to go on for a while, and relics are really going to matter. And I love that Mattheus is grabbing the relics that are more out in the open first.
Yep. Good decision.
He goes for the safe ones, which are on the right side of his base. I also like how Heartt's like, this isn't actually arena. I would like to build a forward siege workshop.
Yep, forward siege workshop, which Mattheus has scouted, by the way. Good scouting from him. He lost a camel and a monk there, though, in doing so. Also, Mattheus is keeping his one scout active next to the ponds in the center, looking for monks. He hasn't found any pickoffs just yet, so I guess it will have to be defensive monks, defensive siege for Mattheus, but you don't want to invest too much into that defense, because then your Imperial Age time could be lower if your opponent only makes 1 or 2 mangonels. So it's tough to judge this, but I like how Heartt is making his opponent pay for the fact that he's just full walled and has played this defensive from the very beginning. 1 conversion for Mattheus, though. That's solid.
That is, and that was a fast conversion. Very well played. The fast resurrect explosion manages to get that 1 camel, and honestly, that does matter. Especially when we're in such a defensive position, where the point where Mattheus has 3 monasteries. You mentioned it's important to not overcommit, and I agree, but he's got 3 monasteries. Again, he's just very scared of his front gold on that hill that he can't TC, and also the TC that he has over here is not optimal. This is just not a place you want to put it. It's just going to get mangonel shelled.
His lumberjacks, he's lucky he didn't lose any villagers there. Lots of weak villagers running back away from that wood line. The monk even got hit in the face. He's on 3 HP. It really was because the mangonel was firing uphill. Yep. That was fortunate for him, I guess. Conversions in the center, or attempted conversions for Heartt. Heartt loses a monk. So the KD, very close, but Heartt has lost a few more monks than his opponent. I say that as he sends a camel after this monk. Oh no, he patrolled into a villager.
There's a hole in the wall now. Okay, but that's not relevant yet. So there's a very interesting difference in style going on over here. So we have 2 relics from Mattheus. He's really prioritizing those. And he has a scout positioned right next to one of Heartt's close friends.
Oh my god.
In the middle.
Rez, look on the left real quick. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So redemption was just completed for Mattheus.
And he just,
enemy mangonels, right? There were 2 Heartt mangonels there. Heartt assumed the other one was getting converted, so he deleted the wrong one and then ended up losing his mangonel that was left. That is ridiculous. that is ridiculous.
Is utterly ridiculous.
Oh, man.
Redemption's a good technology. Always get it in these mirror matches, and oops. Hey, at least he gets to kill another monk right there. That's something. But by no means no problem. That was unbelievable. And he also, Mattheus just got a pick off on that monk that he was waiting for this entire time. He's like, right behind you.
Yeah. So lots of monks for Mattheus. Conversions will make or break how this next couple minutes go, because
you can't tell what you're targeting.
Heartt wants to build a castle, Rez. So if he wanted to build it on that forward hill, he could attempt that. There's really no military to stop him from doing that, but it's the monks. It's the Lord Almighty. If he converts you, you're in trouble. I mean, with that many monks, assuming Mattheus can get conversions, he's an arena player. I think Heartt will have to pull back and build his castle defensively, but he's clicked up to Imp.
Heartt deleted his siege workshop the moment the monk threatened to convert that from, it's amazing. Oh, you can convert buildings in this game. That's a fantastic feature. And I love that he actually deleted that, because you do not want to give a siege workshop to your opponent. That's a 400 wood swing. You lost 200 wood, your opponent has 400 wood, it's a bunch of time. And Mattheus, he's teching a pikeman. And now that pikemen, spearmen, and halberdiers deal extra damage to all camels, which is a strange nerf to Imperial Camels, but nonetheless, it makes the pikeman technology super, super crucial in this matchup, even more so than it was before.
I find the pikeman switch really peculiar. I mean, you're right.
Yeah.
Pikes are definitely good versus camels, but the meta for Indians is normally to go with the camels and elite skirm, and elite skirm would do very well versus the pikes. Here comes scouts from Hearttt going for the exposed monks on the front. Mattheus possibly venturing too far forward, and he's lost 1 monk. He'll lose 2, and it could lose all of them. Honestly, if Hearttt micros this correctly, I'm sure he'll lose them.
God,
so great engagement for Hearttt, and Hearttt is hitting the Imperial Age any minute now.
That's game-changing, honestly. Losing all of those monks, they're 100 gold apiece, and you had to spend so much time on their education. 475 gold for redemption.
Yeah.
Sanctity, everything, all down the drain. Those poor monks. Losing all of them matters a lot, but he has 3 relics, so he's guaranteed himself that he will always have the relic advantage, and he's going to have a 4th one too. So if this game goes really long, he's in a great position. And like you said, I like how Mattheus has actually denied Hearttt from dropping that castle where he wants to. And Mattheus can now hopefully strip mine that gold mine, which is in a horrible position at the front of his base, and hopefully those stone mines as well, now that he has some map control. But we'll see.
Hearttt has enough camels. He's taking this engagement, and he'll kill the pikes. Now, I said he'd mix in elite skirm. Hearttt will go for hand cannons. He just has to wait for chemistry to complete when he hits the Imperial Age. Actually, he's in imp, so he's halfway to completing that now. So bombard cannons is something that Indians get. Hand cannons with their unique upgrade, they get additional range. And Mattheus is just spamming pikemen, which to me is just... He should have something else, right?
Yeah, I don't know how... Okay, look, actually, I do know, because I've watched and cast a lot of this game. It's like you said, pikemen are not a staple of this mirror match.
Yeah, it's not.
This mirror match since, like, 2013, and I can tell you that the halberdiers are okay, but like you said, elite skirmishers do have an attack bonus versus halberdiers, and generally you want to have that range, and hand cannoneers are a thing in this matchup. Not only with sultans, with the 10% extra gold income, but also with their unique technology. I'm going to mispronounce this, like Shatnagi or something like that. The hand cannoneers are relevant. Bombard cannons are really useful in these Treb wars. Yeah, the halberdiers are decent, but he needs some substance to his army. He needs something besides mess, halbs, and monks.
Well, I mean, the good thing for Mattheus is with this pikeman spam, he's been able to deny this castle, and the reason that he's gone halberdier is maybe, I'm sorry, I have a bug in my throat, maybe because he knows it takes a while for Hearttt to get to his gunpowder. Like, he'll deny that castle on the front, and he could even take out the castle that Hearttt has already built, so there's possibilities here, I guess, which is pure halb and monk flood. He is an arena player, and he could now transition into something like hand cannons himself, and he's clicking chemistry. He misclicked ballistics and now click chemistry, so maybe halb hand cannon will be the play, and he's gotten enough momentum to get there.
Okay, so I like halb hand cannon. I think that is a viable build for the Indians in the mirror match. It's actually a classic one, the classic Res 2013 build, but it's like, I mean, you can't walk into the halberdiers. You're actually ranged. You're not supposed to be taking all that damage. That's too much damage to be taking, actually. So you're not supposed to control him like this, but that being said, I think that Hearttt, I like his army better. I really don't understand theocracy. Okay, so
he's going to convert the bombard cannons. He converted 1. He will kill the next one. This is quite good for Mattheus, in all honesty. That's a lot of gold down the drain, and the stone for Hearttt. And Hearttt has to be careful with his bombard cannons now, because it's 12 range for the monks and the bombard cannons, and he'll lose another one if he's not careful. This is... I mean, it caught Hearttt off guard as well, I think, right?
I think it would catch anyone off guard. Illumination coming down. Theocracy. I'm res thinking. Is this the counter? Okay, so now I note to self, whenever I do this build, I have to watch out for the mass monks halberdiers. Is pretty scary. He wants to use his bombard cannons to counter the Trebs in the matchup, which is great.
But he can't close in,
really. He can't because of the block printing illumination theocracy combo. Okay.
So, population's 155 for Hearttt, 150 for Mattheus. Hearttt has a lot more villagers. He has less military. And at the moment, Mattheus has all the counters, and Hearttt has to delete that bombard cannon so he doesn't give it to his opponent. Mattheus... could pack up these traps and push forward soon, Rez. And I just want to point out that Hearttt is now starting to raid with light cav on that right-hand side. Continue.
Ooh, which I think is a great idea as a stall breaker. But I just wonder, have we hit peak age of empires? Because I'm pretty sure I'm seeing mass monks, Indians. Sure. I mean, normally when I see this, it's in response to elephant archers. But sure.
Well, yeah, versus bombard cannons, it's great because otherwise you lose your own bombard cannons, right? I mean, I don't think he'll make a ton of monks. I think he just needs enough to convert bombard cannons, and it will get more and more difficult now that Hearttt is mixing in light cav to snipe the monks. And there's the unique upgrade, Shitangi. I also struggle with saying that, so that gives these hand cannons a little bit more firepower.
Yes, a little bit more gunpowder, and.
The monks are getting a conversion.
God,
another bombard cannon. 2 conversions on bombard cannons, and he's also microing away to save this. That's ridiculous. It's just he needs to get his hand cannon numbers up, and then I think he's golden. Look, he'll kill the other bombard cannon on the hill, Rez. This is great stuff from Mattheus.
This is absolutely amazing, and I mean, in addition to that, also I think Hearttt has an addiction to outposts. As he's built some outposts on the right, and he's like mass migrating villagers all the way on the right side to this gold mine. He wants a secret gold mine, except he's brought a halberdier with him. Oops. I like the light cavalry rating, I do, except he's coming in at probably the wrong angle, and Heartt's building a castle exactly where I thought he would build one earlier on the end to protect the backside of his base, so I think he might be fine. And I really love this build. Block printing gives the monk exactly the same range as a hand cannoneer, so without siege engineers, you don't have the advantage there. And also, bombard cannons have only 40 attack, so the monk will live at 5.
Yeah.
So you have a pretty good conversion chance there. I like this weird build.
It works. His halves are not contributing anything except, I guess they're good distraction
right now. They're killing the
light
cav the bits.
Yeah.
Ooh, that snipe on the tread.
Wow. It's just the value in the engagements have been better for Mattheus. He's killed more gold units, he's converted more gold units, and he's only lost out on food and wood. Now, Mattheus needs to continue pushing forward. I'd like to see him pack his trebs up and pressure Heartt's castle, because Hearttt has no defense to that right now. However, Hearttt is doing a great job trying to pressure the outer edges and getting those additional golds. So that is one thing for him that's good. And yeah, Elite Skirm in the mix now would be interesting because that counters the hand cannons and that counters the halb. So is it too late for Hearttt? That's the question.
It might just be, but I do like that, like you said, he's taking advantage of map control, and raiding is the great equalizer that I keep talking about. However, Mattheus is playing so well, he even has some defensive halbs as well as that castle on the hill. There's not much of a great place for Hearttt to actually sneak in his hussars until we give hussars an attack bonus versus buildings. That'd be a little spooky. But in this case, they don't. It's one thing the Indians don't have, and I love this army comp. Like you said, it's gold value. The halbs are meat shields, and they keep the light cav off the army, I guess.
Yeah. This is very similar to Persian's AOC late game.
Bingo.
Persian's and Teutons where civs where you can go with knights, but it turns into gunpowder and halbs, and that's not something that Hearttt prepared for after going with the camels. And just look at the force now: 192 population for Hearttt, or sorry, for Mattheus, 180 for Hearttt. And Hearttt, his economy's here, his ranges are here. All Mattheus needs to do is kill the production buildings, and then Hearttt won't be able to mass units. Hearttt could be badly housed if he loses houses as well. He luckily has gotten.
He's really badly housed, actually.
Yeah, I mean,
60.
He's not doing any damage to Mattheus except with a few random light cav, which are very low HP and will soon die. So can he address this? I think he's waiting for the skirmisher numbers, Rez.
Yeah. That's not that much damage. Now here's what's something that's interesting though, is even though Hearttt is terminally housed, he has a villager lead of 30 because his hussars have finally got into the eco, and the halbs are getting kited a little bit, and the farms are, I mean, these are PGG farms, and no one will get that reference at this point because it's from 2010. 2010 AOC. Heartt's grabbing ballistics now. That would have come in handy a lot sooner, especially at the insanely long range with the hand cannoneers. But I think it's something worth pointing out. And man, this game is nuts.
This fight, Rez. this fight. The Hussars go after the monks. I think many monks will die here. Skirmishers and hand cannons then patrolling behind this. So I like this engagement for Hearttt. He's killed a decent number of monks.
He's going to kill almost all of them. And the women and the children too. And the... Oh, no.
No. Now Mattheus is branching out on the right-hand side. He got that castle up. He's spamming helps, maybe towards the additional gold that Hearttt has pretty much already collected, in all honesty. Skirmishers is one thing that Mattheus is lacking, though. He's going with halbs and handkins. He's sticking with that. Skirmishers might not be a bad idea. Also, Hussar to raid the eco would be very effective because he's the one who has map control. So if he were to start raiding, if he can even afford to do that, and I think it'd benefit him more than it's benefiting Hearttt.
Well, Heartt's got an Embracer 49 minutes in the game. He's going to need it for his elite skirms. But here's the thing, 5 trebs, that's a lot of damage. And hey, whoa, this is weird. They're the Indians, and 50 minutes in, we're seeing a heavy camel come out. That's interesting, as well as elite skirm.
It's better than Hussar because of that Pierce, I guess, right? So
it is better.
Start using the camels. There's no halbs for their opponents, so he's just kind of mind. Well, this is a PG stream, kids. He's mind tricked.
Yes, there we go. He's mind tricked.
And Heartt's going into Hussar, so the camels will kill the Hussar, and Mattheus has not been stopped. He's been steamrolling. He's at 195 population. Hearttt looking for a response, but he's 50 military behind.
He is 50 military behind. I think the elephant in the room is the not elephants. It's actually the trebuchets. They're huge, so I guess it counts. The trebs are actually sniping off enemy units. I feel like Heartt's controlling his army better in this fight, and that Mattheus got caught off guard a little bit. But man, those trebs have so many confirmed kills. What snipers? He is pushing Mattheus back a bit, but guess what Mattheus has? He's got something that I really don't have fun playing against. It's called Sultans plus 4 relics.
Yeah. Well, and this is before the camels as well. So once the camels come in here, I think Heartt's dead. I don't see any way back for him. His main army can't even engage just as is, right? So if the camels arrive, even just 5 to 10 of them with all the defense upgrades, and they will be there as plate barding is being researched, Hearttt will have no response to this. He will have absolutely no response to this. He cannot raid Mattheus on the flanks now. Mattheus has castles everywhere. He even has a castle in Heartt's corner next to that TC. And now here come the camels, and I think Hearttt is realizing, I'm doomed.
Finally, T90, it's happened. Bigger army diplomacy is working, just like it did throughout most of history. In a nutshell is how I would sum that up. 80 to 30 military population, even though Mattheus has been behind on villagers by a significant margin of 30 for a very prolonged period of time. Bigger army diplomacy just works very well in life. And
it's so
what
weird.
Impressive series. What impressive series, and so strange too.
I mean, it's not weird because it's bad. He just finished Imperial Camel. The guy's insane. It's not weird because it's bad, but
he still got it. It's okay, guys. He still got it.
The finishing blow was Camel. It was not the first thing he did. It was the last thing he did in the Imperial Age. And now that we've seen it executed, it makes sense, right? The halbs counter the initial camel push from Hearttt. Then you go into hand cannons yourself. Monks was a very key thing in this because he converted the bombard cannons. And then right when his opponent started mixing in hussars, he started adding skirms. And also on top of all of this, he got the relics, he macroed hard, and he had the resources to do this as well. He would not have been able to do this with less economy. That's for sure.
I mean, Hearttt is such a good player. It takes some creative play from Mattheus. And I think that's one of the reasons why Age of Empires 2 has survived and thrived as an esport for so long, because there are so many units and series of plays that you can do. And in this case, it is amazing and beautiful to see the Imperial Camel used as the finishing blow, because absolutely, that was it. The moment the Imperial Camels come out, now Hearttt has been baited into an army, like a siren baited, and now it just gets mopped up by the Imperial Camels. This was an incredible series, T90, and what a pleasure it was to cast it with you. My goodness.
All right, man, let's move to the achievements. I know, it's awesome.
Wow.
So 316 kills for Hearttt. He had more kills